All right, welcome to the Franchise Time Machine. We're going to be doing something a little bit different today. I don't actually know if we'll do a sim, but I want to introduce a new project um, that will become kind of a regular kind of part of the rotation. So it's this idea of, I do a lot of different stuff in base game, and for me, when I first started playing OTP, one of my favorite things that you can do in the game is just, you know, put together your favorite players and run them out there on the field. So the easiest way to do that is within a season, you just, kind of grab your favorite players from that season, right? So if you're playing 2024 this year, you would grab your favorite players. You can either go into editor and change their team so they're on your team. Um, or you can, force trades, however you want to do it. There's lots of different ways to do that in the game. And in fact, now that I'm talking about it, that might be a good episode to do someday. If people are new to the game or the base game, especially, you may not know all the different ways you can use to bring players together onto your team, even within a season. It's like if you've watched any of my episodes, you probably know now how to import players from other seasons. But within a season, there's a few different ways you can use to um, kind of force players onto your team. And so I'll do an episode around that sometime. Um, but anyway, I used to play a lot of Stratomatic baseball. And for those who are not familiar, that's like a card and dice game where each player, like, in Perfect Team, we talk about player cards. But in Stratomatic, there was literally a card. They come in perforated sheets, and we'd, at the start of each season, like the big day was when the sheets would come in the mail. And we'd all go to one of our houses and sit there and just tear the sheets into the individual cards. And on one side, it was like the simple card, which is like the pitcher has a card and the batter has a card, and you roll dice to see, is it on the pitcher's card or the batter's card, and then whichever card it's on, which column and which outcome is it. I should guess I'll grab some pictures and I'll show you guys what it looks like if you're not familiar. Then the other side of the cards, which was I think new when I started playing, was each card was divided into two sides versus lefties and versus righties. And so um, because I grew up playing that, like the VL and VR in Perfect Team and OGP is like it just like my brain absorbs that really easily because we played this versus lefties versus righties Stratomatic. But anyway, so you get the new season's cards, we'd rip them all, and then um, we'd have a draft. Like you would either get a team or several teams. My favorite seasons were when we did this way where um, each each person got to pick five teams. So what we do is like we'd rip the cards, then we'd rubber band them all into the individual teams, and we'd like put them all in a pile. And whoever's turn it was to pick could just pick from the pile any team they wanted. And this particular season, we would take you each got five teams. And after the draft, you had to designate which three were your major league teams and which two were your minor league teams. And all that meant was you could use your minor league teams for parts, but you can only add five like non-original cards to each major league team. So it's like the Twins were a real popular major league team because back then in the 80s, there were late 80s, there was a really solid team, but they just had like a few gaps in their lineup and could always use another starter or someone in the bullpen. But they have lots of great parts, and so um, but they had too many parts to use. They were close enough to being super good that you would use them as your major league team. And then you would take a team that was like, not nearly as good, but had, maybe a few superstars or stars. And you'd grab them and add some of them to your Twins or to your Yankees or whatever. whenever you decide to make your three major league teams. So we had a lot of fun doing that. But the thing about Stratomatic baseball is you're limited to like the cards you have. And we've been playing for a while, so we have like maybe 4 or 5 years worth of cards. Um, but and they sold these like historic sets. But I should look up the actual prices, but I remember them being like pretty expensive. Like if you wanted to get the 27 Yankees, that was like $5. Um, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you want to cobble together several historic teams, pretty soon you're running up into like 40, $50. And we were kids, we didn't have that kind of money. So when I first got OTP and I saw like it had every player basically who'd ever played, I was like, oh, all those things that I wanted to do in Stratomatic that I couldn't do because we're limited to one season, I can now do. And so one of the first things I did, and I'm sure one of the first things anyone does, is I figured out how to import players from other years, and I would just put like my all-time favorite baseball players team. So it would have like Ted Williams in left field and Hank Aaron in right field. And I was always have to decide like, is it Willie Mays or Mickey Mantle in center field? And I know my book covers from school were just covered with lineups I would write. Like instead of doodling class, I would like write lineups in class. Um, and so that's what I wanted to do on the stream is do that. But then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to pick the Mets because they're my favorite team. And maybe I'll do the Mariners too, because I picked up the Mariners as a favorite team when I moved to the Pacific Northwest. But then I was like, well, we know all these people in the community who, as much as they're known for what they do in OTP or Perfect Team, we also associate them pretty closely with specific major league teams. And I thought, I know they're going to have their own favorite team roster. And so I started reaching out to see like how many people could I get interested in submitting a team. So in the first episode of this, what we'll do is, I've shown you guys how to do a roster. Yeah, let me find one. I've shown you guys how to do a roster. Let's see if I can find one. Where is it? Sorry, I had prepped everything except the roster. Now here's one. Here's the NSFW pitchers roster, right? Like I showed you guys how to build these um, TXT files, and you can just enter these into OOTP. And with one upload of a document, you can import an entire roster of players. So um, it's like, well, I can do that for the Mets, and I can do that for the Mariners. And then like, what about all the other teams? Well, let me take a step back. So in the next episode, what I'll do is maybe I'll even put the whole roster together on stream because it won't take very long because I know the Mets pretty well. I know who I would pick. Um, I don't doodle them on I don't doodle them on book covers anymore, but I stopped doing that in high school, but I know who I would add since then. And so I think, I could do that in the first maybe quarter or half of a stream, and then we can upload this file. We can create this file as we go. I've done that on stream, right? It goes pretty fast because you just need the player ID and the year. The destination is always going to be the same. And then we'll put like, okay, this is Franchise Time Machine's favorite Mets roster, and we'll run it in 2023. Like we've been running all kinds of teams in 2023. And then we'll get the outcome. We'll see what the season score is, and but then I have this roster sheet now, and so let me create a new league and replace the 2023 Mets with this version, like the franchise time machine Mets. And if I do the Mariners, let's do the same thing. Well, the 2023 Mariners will be replaced by the franchise time machine Mariners. So then I started asking around. Started mostly with the affiliate streamers, and because they've always been super supportive, and they're all very supportive when I decided I wanted to start streaming. They're all very supportive when I decided I wanted to become an affiliate, and they're also super supportive about this because they're fans just like we are, and so I've already got some people who are either already working on their rosters. I've already gotten some messages from people like, "Hey, this is I've got this so far." Um, but Paul Sporer is going to do a Tigers favorite franchise favorite roster. Dr. Dynastic is already pretty far into and one for the Athletics. Cheeky's going to do one for the Padres. Twins 34, no surprise, has agreed to do one for the Twins. EVC and NYC is going to do one for the Dodgers. And then Fussmarker, who I'm always super impressed with when I see him on the streams, just how well he communicates his thoughts about players and stuff, and he's obviously a dedicated Yankees fan. He's going to do the Yankees. And in the course of asking him this, I heard from all these like cool stories about like how he came about his Yankee fandom. So I'm hoping some of these folks will come on the stream, or I can go on their streams, and I can ask them to talk about some of the players. And then D Block is going to do the Royals. So the reason I want to ask about why they pick certain players is if all I wanted was all-time greatest teams, that's already in the game. I don't know if you know that, but if you go here, let me show you. Let me pull up the game. If you just want all-time greatest, and I should ask Paul or Nico where these lists came from. I don't think they came from Paul because otherwise, when I asked him to do this, I think I would have expected him to ask like, well, how would this be different from what's already in the game? Um, but to me, what's different is like these are your favorite players, not necessarily like the all-time greatest of the franchise, but like players that mean something to you. And I'm sure in most cases too, our favorites are going to reflect the greatest of all time, but also like plus something. Like so for me with the Mets, New York Mets era Nolan Ryan was not good. He was like, going back to a recent uh stream, he was like Bobby Witt Sr. He was way too wild. He could strike out a bunch of people, but he also walked a ton of people. Like very Nuke Lelouch from Bull Durham ish. Um, but I'm going to put him on my team because I always liked watching him pitch on TV. His stat lines are always amazing to me. And of course, I'd much rather have an Astros Nolan Ryan or a California Angels Nolan Ryan, where he gets the control. He doesn't become a control master, but he gets it under control, and he goes on to throw 7 no hitters and career strikeout leader. But never did any of that with the Mets. But I'm going to put one of his Mets seasons on my team because I want to see him pitch for my team. And so I'm sure like all the others will have players like that too. And so I don't necessarily want to hear about every player they pick because some of them are just no brainers. But I want to hear about the ones that aren't in this. So here, let me show you. If you go to the base game, there's a quick start game. So you can create a new quick start game. And there's all-time greatest. I wasn't going to go into this, but why don't we and I'll just show this to you. ATG demo, all-time greatest demo. And actually debated internally, one of my series of streams is all the all-time greatest. So I've got all-time greatest rookies, and you saw all-time greatest fathers and sons. And I was like, well, is it going to get confused with what's in this quick start? Frankly, I don't think most people know this in this quick start, so I felt okay calling it all-time greatest. But anyway, if you create this, I'll show you. I can take you for a spin through these rosters. Um, but it's great. Like it's great that it's in here. This is like the opposite of Stratomatic. Like at your fingertips, you have every player you could ever want. So you actually need curation, and so I think this is some fun curation. So let me show you the Mets. Right, we'll take over the Mets, but I'll show you every roster. Well, I mean, we'll pick and choose, but okay. So let's see who's in the Mets. Okay, it's a lot of the names you would expect. Tommy Agee's in there from the '69 Mets. Edgardo Alfonso. Um, oh, I'm a little surprised they include Len Dykstra. Len Dykstra, I thought would be one that I would pick that maybe would not be an all-time greatest, but he was like a personal favorite. It's gonna be pretty heavy in the '86 Mets. Like there's a Keith Hernandez here, and you can look and see like what year did they pick. So if you go into editor, they took a '79 Hernandez. Now this is something I would not allow in my game. So I would say if you're a Mets fan and you're going to pick an all-time favorites team, you get to pick a Keith Hernandez from when he played for your team. So I would only get to pick him starting with like 80, 85, I think, while he's at the Mets. So what they did here is like they took peak. It looks like they took peak seasons. So already that's like different from what I think I want to do. But also, I think some of these players, like Skip Lockwood, I'm not taking Skip Lockwood because frankly, I don't know who he is. Um, and John Starnes, I'm sure he's like probably the second best catcher behind Mike Piazza that the Mets ever had. But I'm going to pick the players I remember and I liked watching. Oh, they did get Todd Hundley in here. He was another one I would have, I think, considered. Um, but like one of my first picks is going to be David Wright because for most of my baseball watching lifetime, he was he was the Mets and he played third base. He played it well, and it's even on here. I mean, he must be right. Yeah, there he is. He's right there. But he's gonna be one of my first picks. So yeah, so I'm pretty sure. Well, I can already tell you my list is gonna be different from this list, and it looks like they picked 30, which is cool. Oh, and a 21 player reserve. That's also very cool. So they picked 51 players for the Mets. Yeah, that's so that part I like. Um, but anyway, I don't know what metrics they use or what methodology they use to come up with their 30 and 21. But for me, it's like the only methodology I care about is they're my favorite players from my favorite team. And so that's what I've asked these folks to do. And I think because I asked them in that way, I think that's why everyone was excited and willing to do it because who doesn't like talking about their favorite team and their favorite players on their favorite team? And I told them all you have to do is send me 26 names and if you would, the year that you most want from those teams. Um, but if they don't send me the year, I can actually pick the peak year. But just like just like with the others, I want to reflect what my favorite things are. So yeah, so it's I'm sure we'll get a lot of the the best of, but I also want like the favorites of. So um, and that'll mean a lot of these teams, a lot of these roster will be like more heavy in the modern era, which is fine because that's I want to know who they want to watch play, and I want to watch my favorites play against their favorites. So that's the second part. So the first part is each time one of these folks sends me their roster, I will create this file, right? This notepad file around it. I'll import it into the game, and then we'll play it out. And so step one will be Spores Tigers will play in 2023, and we'll see what happens. And we'll actually maybe I'll create a leaderboard. Now, not all these teams are going to be created equal. like in while talking to folks, I was like, well, the Mets, my Mets, Chiqui's Padres, D-Block's Royals, we're we're not going to perform as well as the Yankees or the Tigers or the Dodgers because we just don't have the history, so we don't have access to as many great players. Um, I was looking up some WAR tables and wins above replacement, right? WAR wins above replacement. The highest Mets all-time WAR, I think it was something like 8.8, is in the eights. That's not even in like the top 25 for the Yankees. And so, yeah, there's just a mismatch, but that's fine. That's like, it's part of the game. So, like, so let's say we have Spores gives me his list. I put it into the game. Spores' favorite Tigers playing 2023. But then I'm going to take his roster sheet and I'm going to upload it to a new league. And I'm going to replace the 2023 Detroit Tigers with Spores Tigers. And the 2023 New York Mets will already be replaced with my New York Mets. And so that's the part where I talked about a franchise favorite league. I eventually want all the teams in the league to be replaced um, by favorites, if not from a streamer, from someone in the community. So like, I don't. I think we can probably find one person, either who's a streamer or a viewer, whose favorite team is what. Well, let me flip that. I don't think there's a major league team that doesn't have someone in the community who would pick them as their favorite team. So that means we should be able to fill entire major league um, schedule or standings or roster with someone's favorite roster. I probably said that wrong, but um, hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. So, so there's what 30 major league teams, right? I I think we should be able to find someone whose favorite team is one of is. I don't think there's any of the 30 teams where we can't find someone who's that's their favorite team. But even like what I would consider some of the hardest ones, like the Rays. Okay, we know someone who's a Rays fan. Um, Miami, is there a Miami fan that's usually in the chat? Like for the Rays, I think A-Dub, aka W. I think he's a Rays fan. And yeah, I'm pretty sure we can find someone for every team. So anyway, I thought it would be fun to have an entire roster of 30, entire league of 30 teams where each team is like someone's favorites from that uh, franchise. And again, it'll look different from the quick start, right? The quick start has that too, but it's OTP's definition of all time greatest. And so it's not personal, it's not specific to a person. Um, like I'm even going to rename them, I think. Like ours will have like the Detroit Spores Tigers and the New York Franchise Time Machines Mets. So you get that there's a person and personal preference behind each of these rosters. And I think make it fun. So anyway, um, each team will have their season sim, add them to the league, and then once the league is full, now it'll take me 30 weeks, maybe longer with holidays and stuff. If we do one a week, we'll have 30 weeks. But that's still in the cycle. We're still in OTP 25 cycle. And then we can start playing franchise favorite league. Hey, D Block, welcome to the stream. Good morning to you. Good evening in my neck of the woods. So I was just talking about a new, well, because I asked you to do the Royals, this new idea of franchise favorites season sim. So we would put your Kansas City Royals all-time favorites into 2023, but then we'd also save that roster sheet, right? Like your version of this, I would then put into the league. And eventually, when the league is full, we can play the league too. And so, oh yeah, hey, no rush, D Block. This is like, yeah, I was just figuring out if I do one of these a week, it's at least 30 weeks to fill the fill the fill the league. But yeah, if you the sooner you get it to me, the sooner I can do your sim, and we can see how your Royals do, and then we'll put your Royals into the league. Um, and so I thought I would. What I'm trying to do is come up with an array of content so I can have a schedule where Monday night will always be not safe for work team. And then like maybe Tuesday night is game night where here, let me pull up that game night thing. You're welcome to play game night sometime too, D Block. Right? Where we take a team, someone picks a team. So far I've been picking the teams. Maybe we spin a wheel or you can pick which of these treatments you get to give to your team. We'll dive into editor and make those changes, and then we'll run your team through the 2023 season. And for each of these, including uh, franchise favorites, I'll have like a leaderboard, and we'll see what our season score is. And so, if we look at so Dave, like here are some of the people who've committed to do this now. So I've got your Royals, and then Spore's gonna do the Tigers. Right. So and I thought after this first wave, I'll ask more people. Um, but I think it'll be cool to have a league where when you look at the standings, it'll be like New York franchise time machine Mets and Kansas City D Block Royals. And just to see it start populating. And I don't even think we need to wait till it's full. I think it'd be fun to do season sims like as like we add teams to the league and see what happens. And if you look at this, like of course, D Block's Royals and Franchise Time Machines Mets and Cheeky's Padres are going to be no match for Fussmucker's Yankees. And so he will, for certain have a higher season score than any of us will. Um, but, I don't think it's the point to see who's the best. It's just let's do this and have our favorite teams play and play against each other. So yeah, so when I talk about having a rotation, I don't know what the calendar looks like yet, but right now it's kind of random. Like people show up and they don't know what they're going to see. Sometimes I don't know what they're going to see. Um, but I've already started thinking about, okay, well, I have a lot of content now that I can do on a weekly basis. So D Block saying outfield is so crowded. There are like 8 to 10 Royals great outfielders. Yeah, I think that's a problem with every team. Also, pitching staffs, I think, going to be hard. The Royals too. Royals especially. Like the Royals have some amazing pitchers in their history. Um, but this is why. So D Block, you're my litmus test. Let me see if you knew this. Um, because I'm doing this even though there's an all-time greats quick start. Did you know that there's an all-time greats quick start in the game? Let's see if D Block knew this. No, haha. So there is. This is what actually I was showing on the screen. Is this is yeah? So in the quick start, but here's the thing. This is why I'm still doing what I'm doing is I don't want the all-time greatest Royals from D Block. I want like D Block's favorite Royals of all time. And so I don't care if most of your players come from post 1985, right? Like if those are your favorites, that's what I want to see. Um, I'm a bit of a history nut. So as I started learning more about the game as a kid, I dove really deep into the baseball encyclopedia. So I'm going to try to bring in some historic Mets, but it's still going to mostly be Mets I know from who I've seen play. But yeah, so like if I look at what's in the game, here's what the Kansas City Royals are for the all-time greatest Kansas City Royals. But I'm still moving forward with this because and I came up with this idea knowing that this existed, but it's not what I want. I don't want OOTP's definition of all-time greatest Royals. I'm sure it's great, but I want to play against D Block's favorite Royals. That makes the outfield clear. Yeah, let me show you their lineup, their roster. Here's their lineups. Oh wait, sorry. This I'm still on the Mets. I meant to go to the Royals. Wasn't I just on? Oh yeah, I clicked on my lineups. Let's go to their lineups. Royals lineups. There we go. But if you want to open up your game and look at this D block, if it'll help you come up with your final roster, I'm all for it. But in the end, I want D block's Royals, not OOTP's definition of all time greatest Royals. Yeah, D block, you notice that too. I don't know if they excluded modern players, but I think whatever methodology they used, it tends to underweight modern players. I think part of it is like it looks like they took like a a career perspective. Because when I looked at the Mets, they chose a Keith Hernandez season when he was not with the Mets. And the way I want to do this, I think he can't be one of my favorite Mets if I'm not picking a season when he was a Met. So do you like you're saying Kane and Alice Gordon have to be there? Yeah, they're not on, they might be on the reserve. They did include a reserve. So let's look at your um here's your reserve roster. So Alice Gordon is there, but Kane is not. Kane is not. Yeah, so at least Alice Gordon's in there. But yeah, so they're clearly using different criteria. And so for me, the fact that they included a Cardinals version of Keith Hernandez on the Mets team, like that's not what I'm looking for. But it's cool that this is here, but it's not what I'm looking for. And so I think this will be fun for some people who, if all they want is an easy way to have an all-time, because their end product is already there, right? I want this to be like Fussmuckers Yankees, but they have an all-time greatest Yankees team, and you want to play a season with all-time greatest teams against each other, you can do that in Quick Start. And you forgot about De Jesus. He was your favorite Royal from 08 to 11. Yeah, so by all means, use this as a guide to jog your memory. Um, but I already liked it. I know you're talking about more modern Royals that aren't reflected in here. I think that's awesome. That's what I'm looking for. So yeah, so I'm thinking I always had targeted Monday nights for Team NSFW because um, I think if it's like a weekend or a non-school night, there might be more kids up watching, and so I'm thinking like it's just safer. I feel like to have it on a Monday night or something. um, and then game night can be any night, but I want to try to start fixing that on a certain night. And then this franchise favorites, I don't know what night makes most sense. Like for some of these, I think I might have to play around with like which night it is, but eventually I want to land on okay, this is NSFW night, and this is game night, and this is franchise favorites night. Um, some of my favorite streams have been like the Twipped inspired ones, where Spore does his card release on Thursday, and then either based on the cards. So when he told that story, um, who was it that inspired the missing finger story? Uh, he's the guy who lost his thumb, and um, he's a Negro League player. Anyway, that inspired me to find four other players who lost fingers and bring them onto the 26 Mets. Like, I think maybe every Thursday or Friday, I want to do that. Or when he released the Octavio Dotel card, that inspired the team made up of all uh, Edwin Jackson's, Octavio Dotel's, Matt Stairs, and Todd Zeals. And so I did that stream, and it had nothing to do with this. But then later, then he does that Food for Thought stream that has like two Matt Stairs, and so I just like playing around with like the ideas um, that come to mind after seeing the new cards and hearing some of the stories that Paul tells. So I think there'll be like a Twipped inspired episode each week. And then some version of all time greats, right? We've already done the all time great rookies. That was super fun, where a rookie Josh Gibson just like destroyed 2023 pitchers. We did all time great Father's Day, all time great father son team. That was awesome, where the father sons just again had a field day hitting 2023 pitching. Um, the Willie Mays, I think, falls into this, where after finding out that he had passed away, I took four Willie Mays and put him on the 23 Mets. And so I think I can slot each of these into the calendar. So do you like asking, make a team like the Scranton missing limbs? So yeah, I was doing fingers, but while I was researching fingers, I did come across several players who were missing limbs as well. So yes, we could definitely make a team like that. Um, the interesting about the missing fingers team, four of the five actually went on to either went on to play Major League Baseball or continued to play Major League Baseball after losing their fingers. The only one who lost their finger after their career was Jose Canseco. I think this franchise favorites fits nicely into the rotation, and so um, I mean, I've already got. I mean, I already got two, four, six. I've got 7 weeks. Oh, eight if you include my team, the Mets. I already got 8 weeks of these, and I'm hoping to add more. Um, so that's a bunch. The team NSFW, I'm going to keep doing that because I keep having a good time doing play by play with those names. Uh, so yeah, when I initially started streaming, I didn't look into becoming an affiliate because I thought, oh, I might just do this for so I can make myself like a dozen VODs that I wanted. But then I was having so much fun. I'm like, well, I don't necessarily see why I would stop. And then at that point, it made more sense to be able to give people drops and stuff. So now at this point, I'm like, well, I might as well just keep doing it and might as well have a schedule and, you know, be a little more exclamation point professional. So really, it's just a way to kind of help people know what to expect. Oh, shoot. I think I have a draft I have to do. Did I already miss it? Hold on. I got to go back into Perfect Team for a second. I haven't done pack rips or drafts on stream because I just feel like I don't know if anyone actually wants to see that, but okay, I still have an hour left to pick. Sunday's still up for no reason. Uh so I might either do that after stream or maybe I'll do it towards the end. Hmm. Oh, do you like do you? Do you do drafts on your stream? I think you do, but you also stream a lot longer. I think each day, so I think you have a lot more kind of. And I think people come to watch you draft because they know you're like a lower level wizard. So I honestly know that anyone's coming here to watch me draft. Although I will say I did make three drafts. I had three teams in the PTCS drafts last cycle. Usually the 5L draft on stream. Yeah, that's what. But I think people come there for that because you're like a lower level guy. But out of necessity, I might have to. I might have to do this Sunday Slut for No Reason draft on stream. So yeah. So D-Lock, I'm glad I got to show you. Like you know the game, but I'm glad I got to show you that this quick start exists. Would you ever play this quick start? I haven't played it mostly because I wanted to build my own version of it, but um, I'm not opposed to it. I think it's a good idea. I think it's good that they include it in the game. But I think most people are probably like me and like they want to have their own version of the all-time greatest, not like someone else's version. I mean, let's look to see who's on the Yankees. I mean, Fussbucker's gonna have a field day bashing our brains in with his all-time Yankees team. All right, well they already lost me because they have Jeter leading off at DH. Who's on their pitching staff? So D Block, you played the normal base game forever before getting into Perfect Team, but no special mods. Oh, I see. So did you just always take control of the Royals and just try to see how good you can make them? Damn it, I was muted again, D Block. Hey Brett, how's it going? Um D Block and I are chatting about I'm starting this new series. Let me oh maybe you've been lurking. I don't know, have you been lurking, Brent, or should I give you the overview of what I'm working on here? Uh, I'm not sure what reach means. Do you want me to? You just arrived. Awesome. Okay, so here's what I'm doing. Um, I've asked a bunch of players, a bunch of affiliates so far. Eventually, I think I'll broaden to more people to give me their franchise favorite roster for their favorite team. And so I think we know there are like some affiliates who are really closely associated with certain teams. And so D Block here is going to give me a Royals roster of his favorite Royals, all time favorites. I'm doing the Mets. I might also do the Mariners, but if someone else wants to do it, I'd be happy to let them do it. Spores can do the Tigers for us. Dr. Dynastic is already in the middle of. No way, I'm not muted. I'm looking at the OBS right now. I'm totally not muted. There's no way. No way, I'm not muted, am I? Oh, Brett, are you a Yankees fan? Wait, am I really muted? I'm looking, it says I'm not muted. Is my microphone off? No, D-Block's messing with me, right? Am I really muted? I don't think I'm muted. I'm looking at the bars. I see colors when I talk. No way. I don't think I'm muted. Brent, am I muted? Yo, ah. I was really starting to believe it. Thank you, Brent. Man, he was really starting to get me. But I'm looking right at it. It's not red. It's white, so I know I'm talking. I know my mute is off. Um, so let's ask Brent because D Block did not know that this existed. Brent, did you know in OTP 25 there is a quick start league that's all time greatest rosters for all 30 major league teams? Okay, so I'm doing this anyway because I don't want OOTP's version of all time greatest. I want people's versions of their favorite players for their favorite teams. And so if people want to go do a quick start with all time greatest, yo, yes, you have played it. Awesome. And it's fun, right? I think it's cool. But that's not what I wanted. I wanted to see everyone's favorite versions of their favorite teams. And so that's why, even though this all-time greatest quick start exists, and that's what we're actually looking at, Brent, when you came in, is I showed D Block the Royals, so in case it gave him some ideas, and it reminded him of the Royals he had forgotten. And we're looking at the Yankees because right now I've got Fussmarker's going to do the Yankees for us to start with, and eventually we're going to fill this league with everyone's favorite versions of their favorite team. But Fussmarker's Yankees and whoever does the Red Sox and whoever does EVC's Dodgers, and probably Spurs Tigers. Those are teams with such long histories and such great players. I'm sure their favorite players rosters are going to destroy everyone else's. But anyway, just to also highlight, we're looking at the Yankees roster, and some of these, like I think for historic. Oh no! You know what? This is going to be weeks. I'm going to do one per week, so definitely going to reach out to Ezra when he gets back. And he's been super supportive of me streaming, and I know he loves the Giants. I'm very optimistic that he'll agree to do the Giants. Um, and I think he'll take a more historic perspective because I think he's a big fan of like the history of baseball and the history of the Giants. And so his team will might might look very different from some of the others. So I think he'll go pretty deep in the history. But that's what I want. I want the teams to reflect the personalities of the people who are building the rosters, which I think we'll get. Like when I talked to Cheeky, he said, uh, you know, he likes simming he's doing a season save of the 85 Padres that Twins and I helped him set up. Um, he doesn't know many Padres for that because he wasn't even, around. I think he even said for 85, I don't think he was around. So and that's fine. Like I want different, types of rosters and different flavors of rosters too. So I think that'll be great. Man, D Block, I'm still traumatized by your trick. I was really starting to think I was I was muted and couldn't unmute. um, so yeah, like when I look at this Yankees roster of pitchers, no, yeah, look at the legends, but at the same time, I think whoever on OTP put this together, I mean, you can't argue that statistically, probably these probably are the best pitchers to have ever pitched for the Yankees. But if you ask a Yankees fan, like, give me a roster with your favorite Yankees, I don't know that these are the pitchers they're going to pick. And so I feel very good about moving forward with this project because I just think these all-time greatest rosters in the quick start are they fill a certain need and a certain function, but it's very different from what I want to do. And I think what we're going to get um, from people like this. So I'm looking forward to it. And so each time someone does one, so D Block when he gives me his, and uh, if we can, I like to have him on the stream to talk about like why he picked certain players, and then we'll run his team through the 2023 season, which you can't do with this all-time greats quick start. Um, and then we'll put them into the league, and that league will look structurally more like this quick start. But all the on the standings page, right? I'm going to change all the names. Yeah, I was thinking about laptop for the Jays. I think AW, he's a Rays fan, right? So and Cubs fan Steve, obviously a Cubs fan. So yeah, so there's like lots of fun people in the community that I like to get to do this. But if I look at the standings, right, I want all these names to be, D Blocks Royals and Laptop Hounds Blue Jays, and I think that'll be really cool. And then do like season sims or maybe do something weird with them, just like we tend to do here, weird stuff in the base game. But yeah, so that's the plan, and eventually have a schedule. Like Brent, would you find it easier to pop in if you knew like, oh, it's Monday night, so Monday night's going to be the not safe for work team uh sims, or does it not matter to you as much? Yes, okay, yeah. So I'm whatever we end up calling each of these things, I'm gonna, and now that I'm an affiliate on Twitch, I think I can populate a schedule too. So the schedule will be like Mondays, team not safe for work. Tuesdays, maybe franchise favorites. So yeah, we'll have a little more structure and a little more predictability, which will help me too. Because like every night, every day, I'm like, what am I going to stream tonight? Like I have 5 things I want to do. This way, it'll help me, I think, get organized and keep things straight. If you're awake, yeah, I think that goes for everybody. If they happen to be awake at 11 p.m. Pacific time to 2 a.m. Eastern time. Um, but again, even if there's one or zero people in chat, I am uh, getting the VODs I want to put on YouTube and reference from my website, and it's stuff I'd be doing anyway. So I'm happy to do it here. um, yeah, and Brent, I'm sorry I didn't realize you were a Yankee fan. I've already filled the Yankee spot, but this is gonna be an ongoing thing. So maybe after we do a cycle with no, AZ Axel's a Rockies fan. That's interesting. I would have just assumed he was a Diamondbacks fan, but yeah, I thought maybe Tetsuiji was a Rockies fan too. Either of them, I think, would be fun. Um, but yeah, I was also thinking after one cycle, maybe we can have like other people come in to submit rosters. But D Block, I think you're safe. I don't do. Are there any other Royals fans in the community? You're not sure that Tetsuiji's talked about the Rockies? Well, I thought he was doing like a Rockies save. That's why I assumed he was a Rockies fan, but maybe he just picked the Rockies at random. I don't know. But yeah, I would I intend to add to this list and hopefully get it up to 30. Oh, AZ Axel. Yeah, I assume because it's AZ's in his name that he might be a Diamondbacks fan. But also, hopefully, as this gets more traction and more of the affiliates get involved, that maybe word will spread. And uh, and if Laptop Hound doesn't want to do the Blue Jays, I think maybe Cavacom might. Maybe I'd ask him or. Um, oh, you think you grew up in Colorado? Okay, yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, I think where you grew up is a big part of it. And D Block didn't grow up in Kansas, but he lived in Kansas, and look what happened to him. I was thinking it might be fun for the Cardinals if because Dr. Dynastic's been super supportive. Maybe we get his mom to do a Cardinals roster because apparently she's a big Cardinals fan, big Bob Gibson fan. So I thought that'd be fun. Yeah, I mean we're all fans, right? So there's no shortage of fans in the game and in the community. So be interesting to see what we can come up with. And then on this on this Twipped inspired thing. So Spore drops a card set a few weeks ago that has Octavio Dotel. Oh, Brent says you've lived in Utah and Idaho, and you've been a Yankee fan for 50 years. So how does that happen? Let's see, Utah and Idaho. Okay, I mean you don't have a major league team near you, I guess. And the Rockies didn't exist when you were a kid. If you've been a Yankees fan for 50 years, your dad was a Yankees fan. That explains it. Yeah, so I don't want to give any spoilers, but I was, chatting with Fussmucker when he was coming on board to do this, and Oh. man, he told me some stories and well, not told me, but messaged me some stories about how, and hopefully he'll talk about this on stream because it was really cool stories about how his dad was a security guard at Yankee Stadium, and so would sometimes get him onto the stadium and stuff. So, so your dad was a Yankee fan. You love the Yankees, and now your son is a Yankees fan. Yeah, that's the great thing about baseball. I think it's handed down, right? Even if it's not the same team, just the fandom of baseball, I think connects so many people with generations. Um, but that's also, I think, you see in Perfect Team too. Like the beauty of the game is like you can have dead ball player cards playing with 2024 live cards in the same game because as we know from that screenshot that gets shared all the time about pitching staffs and stuff, like some of the game environment changes, but it's still underlying, pitchers and batters and that all still connects. And so I think that's part of why this game's awesome. But I mean this game of baseball, but then OTP helps you then take advantage of that history and pull it together. So yeah, that's why I've never played the base game straightforward because I feel like it's such a wasted opportunity to not use all the different eras of players and the editor function to do crazy things in the game across time. So are you still Brent, are you still in Utah or Idaho? Because I do think like I grew up in New Jersey, so I grew up a Mets fan. Let's see, Brent says You live in Terre Haute, Indiana. Oh, he lives in Terre Haute, Indiana. So you're still in Boise, okay? So this is your son, I guess you're talking about. He lives in Terre Haute, Indiana. It's been to several Cubs and White Sox games when they've been playing the Yankees. All right, so that's why there's a Yankees fan in Terre Haute, Indiana, because his grandfather was a Yankees fan. D Block says base game is a future outlook via the prospects in the game. It's really fun too. Yeah, I do. I never did it much, but I did enjoy this whole aspect of you can start in 2024, and I think that's the only way you can play and not know what's going to happen, right? Like if you play any historic season, even if you have it on career mode instead of recalc, you kind of know what's going to happen unless you're playing in 2024 going forward. So his son is a Yankee fan. His son slash your grandson is a Yankees fan. So your dad has started four generations of Yankee fans. No Lee breaking Ricky Henderson's steals record. Wow. Yeah. See, the one reason I stopped playing uh forward looking like 2024 saves is when I did that last in I think maybe it was OTP 20. So I used to only buy this game every 2 or 3 years. And honestly, Perfect Team is the only reason now I buy it every year. Um, but one reason I stopped playing the forward-looking version is, and maybe they fixed it, D Block. After like a few seasons, the draft pool had no like superstars or future superstars in it. Like the game seemed really bad at generating superstars in the fictional player pool. It was almost like it was afraid to make too many stars, so it went way in the opposite side. And so, like, all the draft pools were nerfed, which meant you had no new superstars coming to the game, which made it a little boring. And so I stopped playing future looking. But if they fix that going forward, like I wouldn't mind playing a future going save. I mean, it must be pretty well because there are several people streaming future future saves, right? And I think some people have fixed the problem on their own by making it um, an E League where you don't need superstars being generated if you're doing boosts and stuff. Brett, you're gonna get the Steam version next year? Yeah, I'm on Steam. I've been on Steam since I think 20, and it is nice having all the upgrades and stuff done automatically. No worries about the cast. Are the upgrades the reason why you're gonna get Steam next year? Yeah, that's a nice benefit. Hey, D Block, if you're still around, have they solved the issue of not having enough future superstars in the draft pools for forward looking? Because in historic, you never have to invent superstars because there are naturally just superstars in the pool that, you know, they end up being great. But yeah, by the time I got like, so in OTP 20, by the time I got to like 2024, 2025 draft, I felt like there was no one good in the pool anymore. Not for you, D Block. Good. That was your problem when you bought 24. You still played 22 and could not let go. Could not let go of the team. Yeah, that's funny how that happens, right? You get so attached to them. Hey, they were in the 2020 season only had fictional players on the team, including two-time MVP. Well, if you had fictional two-time MVP, I guess it was generating good fictional players then. So, Brett, you're playing the 61 Yankees? Yeah, I'm more like that. I would do a lot of 91 Mets. So it was like long enough after the 86 Mets where anything good had been burned out of the team. And so I like try to turn things around. I did consider sometimes doing like 87 Mets and seeing if I could just like maintain a dynasty, but you played 18 for 4 years. Yeah, I can see that, man. And I know like each version you can import a season from the previous version, but I was always I don't know if afraid's the right word, but I just worried too much that like the data would get corrupted or it wouldn't work. And you're like Ezra, you play every so I do too when I'm in that mode. My most common version of that is I would take the 1999 Mets and start replacing all the players with me and my friends. And because it's me and my friends, I wanted to see every game and every play. So Brett, you sim all the other games and just play as the Yankees. Yeah, so. Yeah, so maybe I assume that went without saying, but I would play my Mets games and then sim all the rest. Right. That way you get to know the players and they grow on you totally. And they're not just numbers. Yes. But for me, the players already grew on me because they were my friends. And so I was like doubly attached to the team because I was watching them do every play and I had created them in. Now it was like the cartoon superhero version of my friends, but still, like, oh, that's so and so. And then I watched each of us play for like 2 or 3 years. Like, yeah, it's hard to let go. It was hard too because I tried to keep everyone together by jacking up their loyalty and decreasing their greed. Um, and I guess I could have forced them all to stay on the team, but it was a bummer when any of the players would leave and go sign somewhere else. But yeah, it says a lot to you, Block, that you would get attached to these fake players as well that you didn't create. The AI created for you, and you're still getting attached to them. But I think that's how it goes. So Brent, when you do the 61 Yankees, because I would do 91 Mets one of two ways, either with me and my friends on the team, or I would just like GM them knowing who's going to be good and just like dominate because I would just like fleece everyone in trades and stuff. Are you trying to keep it kind of realistic, or are you taking advantage of your knowledge of what happens to make the 61 Yankees like a dynasty? See, D Block, I think like you play a much more honest way, like by using future and fictional players, you're taking away so much of the advantage. Um, I think that's great. Michael Bush was your favorite player in 22, so it's really nice to see him do well this year as a rookie. Oh, I see. Cool, cool. So in OTP 22, you had like a minor league Michael Bush coming up, I guess, through your system. Brent says you've made some trades, but not many. Okay. Is that because you want to try to keep it true to history, or because you just haven't started taking advantage yet? Do you ever fire up any of your old versions of OTP to like, you know, visit your old your old rosters? Mm. Well, Theater was somebody, so Divox saying he was just drafted by the Dodgers and you got him via trade without knowing him, and he was so great for you. Now seeing him in person is great. Oh, that's awesome. Oh yeah, I'm sure even the Yankees had needs. Yeah. And then, but who's going to be good in like 65 and 66. You can really take advantage of AI GMs in that game. Um, so so D Block I think will be interested in this because his team will be in it. But Brett, like, how do you feel about this franchise favorites, both the 2023 Sims and then when I put them all into a league together? Is that something like you would find interesting to watch? And maybe for you, it'd be like watching what Fussmucker does on the with the Yankees. You play on commission? Yeah, I play on commish too. I After having played in commercial mode, I would find it so hard not to. Do you play your forward-looking sims on commish mode? You would if you could stay away. Well, okay, that tells me what I need to know though. That people might be interested in watching this. I mean, I'm going to do it because I'd be doing it anyway. Like most of the stuff I stream is stuff I'd be doing by myself anyway. So I figure I might as well give people drops and let them see what I'm doing in case they find it interesting. All right, D Block says you still you still look at your 22 team. That's so cute, D Block. You took over the Yankees after the Royals. They turned the Yankees around in 28 or so. They had all these expensive contracts. Sandbag then was really challenging to turn that franchise around. Never commish mode. Yeah, I could see you thinking that's cheating and not playing commish mode. That fits what I know of you from watching you on stream and stuff. And I agree, it's 100% cheating. And it's frankly, it's already enough cheating to know what's going to happen in the future from 1991. But that's still not enough for me. I still play in commissioner mode. Although, to be fair, wow, you honestly can be fired on. Man, that's bold. I would always check that one. Um, I will say though, when I play in commissioner mode, I never force a trade. I don't think. Um, or if I force it, it's only because like I can't get the AI to agree to like one last tiny little thing, and it's like I'm tired of adding draft picks to the deal. I'll just be, okay, this is enough. The only thing, Brent's saying, the only thing that you think is that you'll not be able to get all the teams. No, yeah, I don't think there's not enough streamers to go around, but I think there's enough community members to go around. I think if we include viewers, I think we can get all 30 teams. Because I think there's even a Marlins fan in the community. I can't remember who it is, but I'm hoping that like as we start rolling this out, as word gets out, like people like, oh yeah, it's so and so, or that person will reach out to me and be like, oh yeah, I'm a Marlins fan, and yeah, it will be fun to see this entire league with like people's names attached to the teams. I'm really excited about that. There is, yeah, I think there is some Marlins fan. So like A Dub is I think is a Rays fan, and in that same conversation, I thought I remember someone like outing themselves or being outed as a Marlins fan. All right, I got to check to see how much time I have left on this draft real quick. You guys might have to watch me do a draft. Oh no, it started. I missed the draft. I missed the draft for this Sunday Still Up for no reason. I was like, oh, I might have to do it on stream, and then I missed it. All right, well now at least I don't have to worry about drafting it. D King is Rays? Oh, it's not A Dub. I thought A Dub was Rays. Is it possible we have two Rays fans? And some of them I think will be easy to find. I just don't know who they are yet. Like I'm sure there are multiple Braves fans, and um, although there's no guarantee that they'll all be willing to do it. You don't know about W, but D King is from Tampa area. Okay, well that's good. Yeah, we'll have that team covered. That will save me from having to reach out to my friend's dad who lives in Tampa and is like a big time baseball fan. Get the Oriole guy that streams as an Oriole. Yeah, totally. Although I don't know, I know he streams as a VTube Oriole, but is that because he's an Orioles fan? I don't know for sure that he is. TJ will cover the Braves. Yeah, if he's interested. I mean, Spore was really gracious. He was interested right away, so I really appreciate that. Um, but yeah, if TJ's interested, that would be awesome. I'll have to reach out to him. I don't know him though, so I might maybe I'll ask Paul to see if TJ might be interested. I mean, someone like TJ, he may already just have a roster like already ready to go. Be like, here, have this. Yeah. D-Flock saying TJ is always a fan of the team that won. Well, yeah, he is doing a Rangers save right now. All right. Well, I'm relieved that I don't have to do this draft on stream. I am a little bummed that I missed the tournament. Get Rich to be the Met. Well, I'm doing the Mets, so Rich is gonna have to watch from the sidelines. Yeah, let me go back to the community manager that does not talk to the community. When someone told me he was a community manager, I was like, "What? Brett, you love doing the speed draft?" I feel like I have a big advantage in speed drafts because I play so much 5L and 6L that the late rounds are so easy to do. And so as a result, I think I do better in the speed round tournaments than I do in the other tournaments. As do you. Yep. Yep. Lap has trained us well. And I think people who don't play 5L and 6L, they probably struggle, especially on that last iron round. And so I feel very confident going into speed draft tournaments that I'm going to have one of the better rosters. I don't feel that confidence in other draft tournaments, but in speeds for sure. In fact, have we had a you do the Dr. Dynastic speed drafts? I never have open slots for those. Even when I think like I should save a spot, I always forget and fill it up. Have they had a PTCS speed draft yet? I don't think they have because I would be super excited if they had that because I would feel like I had a chance. D Block says you need less than 5 minutes later for your draft. Oh, that's the other one it's trained me for. Every once in a while, like I'll get busy with work or something, and then by the time I get back to OTP, I'm like, oh, I've got two drafts for like that are both due in 20 minutes, and so I'll have to zip through them, and it's like no problem because I'm used to doing them in 5 minutes anyway. Brent, you always win some packs in every draft you've done. Oh, you've won packs in 10 straight tournaments? That's awesome, man. D Block, you only need 3.5 minutes normally. If you're not on screen and show what you why you take it. Oh, so if you draft not on stream but on your own. I was gonna make a joke about you only taking 3.5 minutes, but this is a family stream, so I did not do that. I passed up on that low hanging fruit. Most of the times it's 1 to 2 packs. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, any streak in the money like that, that's impressive. I wonder if I should start looking to see. So I'm not going to do my Mets roster tonight. Mostly I just wanted to like play with this idea, show people the quick save and see if like is different enough to do. And I feel like it is different enough to do. You are a member of Al Bundy's No Ma'am Club. Oh yeah, Brett, that's a great way to fund your PAX only team. That's awesome. So Brent, if you're doing that well, are you gonna qualify for PTCS draft? Because 10 in a row, that should get you quite a bit of PTCS points. All right, this is good though. I appreciate you guys being on here. So I feel good that I'm it'll be different enough from the quick save all time greats that it'll be worth doing. And frankly, like I'm assuming this, but I'm like 99.9% sure Spore knows about the all-time greats quick save, and he didn't say a word. He was like, "Yeah, I'm in. I want to do this." So I'm assuming he also thinks it's different enough. So that's cool. Ask him though, who populated those all-time greats rosters? Because if it wasn't him, I don't know who else would do that unless it's AI populated by using lore and stuff or something. Yeah, maybe it's AI populated. It could be. PTCS draft is the hardest PTCS to qualify. I would not argue with that. I found it very difficult. I started last PTCS cycle when I bought the license. I bought a second license to do the streaming, and I thought, oh, I have 6 teams now. I'm going to try to qualify all six in PTCS draft. And man, it was exhausting. I was constantly like adding, uh, like entering tournaments and drafting tournaments, and I could only get 3 in out of 6. It was super hard. Brent says there are some great games to play in the quicks, but the quicks don't qualify you though, right? In others, you need 50 to 55 points to qualify. Draft is like 170. So D Block, here's part of my theory for that. I think you used to need more points to qualify in the others in PT24. I think the reason it's easier to qualify those others now is because the top combi teams are winning so many tournaments that they're sucking out so many qualifying points that the rest of us are just like battling for we're battling for third or fourth place most of the time, so there's fewer points to go around, and so that's why I think we need fewer points to qualify in those. It was just 40 and 24. Okay, I stand corrected. I thought those combi teams are creating a distortion that was making it easier to qualify, because if you got lucky and won one or placed second or third in one, it was so rare because the combi only teams were sucking up all those top places. Um, then I can't explain why. Then last cycle I had all 6 teams qualify in iron, bronze, and silver, which I was not expecting, and I think all 6 are going to qualify again this cycle. And I was not a good manager in PT25 for the first month and a half. I could just not wrap my brain around the new simulation engine. So D-Block says in the last 2 PTSs in 24, it was around 50, but before that it was 40. Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, I only started in December of PT24, so I don't know that history. But yeah, I've so you're in the cheeky stream and a guy in there bought a card from Laptop for 2.5K. How did they know they were buying it from Laptop? Hey, cheeky, what's up, man? Oh, 2.5 million? Whoa. 2.5 million. Okay, so that's why you know it was laptops, because did he post it on his stream? 2.5 million. What card was that? Oh, Artie. Oh, Artie is the one. I couldn't remember who it was. Artie is the one uh, that when Spore was telling the story in his TWIP show about him not having a thumb. Artie is the one that inspired my ML Major Leaguers Who Lost Fingers sim. I was going over. Yeah, so laptop was the seller. That's amazing. So laptop. I can't wait to see his next stream then when he talks about getting this huge infusion of points. And so who bought it? It was someone in the stream. Man, I can't even imagine 2.5 million. Oh, Dr. Zevia. Okay. Wow, I can't even imagine that many perfect points. That's crazy. That is awesome. You said the same. Yeah, sometimes when I see these cards in the card shop for like 1.5 million and then they're gone, I'm like, wow, someone has a lot of perfect points. Yeah, so Cheeky, I was getting close to, I think, wrapping up, but I was introducing this new the franchise favorites